Hi everybody, welcome to Moving Home with Charlie. I'm Charlie, and this morning I am reacting to Halifax's latest National House Price Index, where they have it's now the 7th of December 2022. They've just released November's average house prices for 2022. I've put a link in the video, in the description below this video where I can. And they're showing the sharpest house price falls month on month since 2008, okay? So this now allows you all to start to form your own more accurate opinions on how far you think house prices are going to fall in your region. So I've been saying for a while now, since September, that I'm predicting an overall average house price fall of 35% in the UK, and I have been roundly laughed at and mocked by a lot of people who don't believe it's going to be that much. But I think today's figures start to support that view more. Now, one of the things that I've realised I haven't made clear is that I am not really forecasting or predicting house prices so much as I am reporting what I'm seeing now, which just happens to be ahead of official reported prices. Because what you need to remember is that when the final prices are reported, it's roughly 5 months after those prices were agreed, okay? So the November house price, which has fallen £7,000 almost, the average price has dropped almost 7 grand in 1 month, are for deals, for housing transactions, housing sales that were agreed, housing purchases that were agreed. This is only amongst people who are taking out mortgages with the Halifax, obviously. But back in around about June 2022. So bear that in mind, okay? The figures we are seeing reported in November 2022 are for what was actually happening in the housing market back in June or July, thereabouts, 2022. So this is long before the mini budget nightmare and the changing of Prime Minister and all that kind of stuff was happening. Well, the second change of Prime Minister anyway. This was long before all of that turmoil. So when you start to think to yourself, hang on a second, the steepest fall in month-on-month house prices for 14 years happened before interest rates started going up sharply, before the mini budget turmoil, before all of that market uncertainty. Then you can ask yourself, well, what does that mean is going to happen when house prices that were being agreed in September and October after that turmoil, what's it going to mean for those? How much further do you think they're going to fall? If we're already seeing the steepest house price falls in a month for 14 years from house transactions that were being agreed in the summer. Okay, you can all form your own opinions, guys, right? I am sharing with you what I have been seeing happening at the coalface for a long time. Okay, I initially called this in a video to agents in May of 2022 because I could see with the data I had access to, that I could see very strong signals. There was no certainty, there was no guaranteed universal data, but with the access to data I've got in the industry, I could see enough signals that it was starting to happen. So for those of you who sort of say, well, Charlie, you haven't got a crystal ball, I don't need one. I'm just reporting what's happening now. It just hasn't yet been reported by the press. Okay, so what does this mean? Remember, 3 different stages of house prices: asking prices, agreed prices, actual prices. So we're now seeing the actual prices in November that were agreed back in June, that were asking prices probably before that. I've also linked below to Rightmove's July, because I thought it'd be interesting to see what were they saying around about that time. What were they saying publicly? So I've linked to the Rightmove house price index in July, where they sort of talk about, oh, it's just the the summer dip in prices. It's just nothing to worry about. But actually, if you read the report in more detail, they do start to make some quite clear warnings that they were expecting things to get more difficult, or house prices to stop growing in the second half of 2022. So the question that's on my mind now, I don't know if it's on yours yet, is when will the house price falls stop? Right? How far will they fall and when will they stop? How long are they going to be sliding for? Well, that nobody knows. I don't pretend to know that either. So I'm now going to be making answering that question as best I can. When will house price falls stop? Well, for house price falls to stop, we need funded buyers to be coming out in greater numbers than properties are coming onto the market. And we need several things to happen. So number one, we need the new level of affordability to be reached. And what I mean by that is we need to wait for house prices to drop to affordable levels. That's the first thing that has to happen, okay? To me, that's not a prediction, that's just a simple mathematical fact, okay? Until house prices fall far enough that they become affordable again, because affordability has changed because of rising mortgage interest rates and because of the cost of living crisis and the squeeze on people's income. So all of these things are compounding effects on each other, making affordability very hard at the moment. So when house prices become more affordable, you'll start to see more transactions, number one. The second thing that needs to happen is you need to see consumer confidence rising. People need to have confidence in their job security in order to be taking out mortgages and major financial commitments. When will that happen? We don't know, okay? But confidence doesn't tend to rise as we're going into a recession. And the Bank of England's own forecasts are that this recession is going to last into 2024. So again, you can form your own opinions on when do you think confidence will return. Personally, based on everything that's available to look at and the uncertainties and everything else, I don't see confidence returning until 2024 at the earliest, okay? And the third thing that we need to see happening for sustainable, for house prices to stop falling, not even to necessarily to rise, but to stop falling, is for growth to return to the economy, which is, again, this is the end of the recession, okay? So when growth returns, confidence is restored, and when house prices have become affordable again, that is roughly when house prices will stop falling, okay? I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that massively, are they? I mean, nothing I've said there is an outrageous wild prediction or needs a crystal ball. Okay, house prices will stop falling when affordability is reached, when people are confident to start taking out mortgages again, and when the economy has come out of recession. Okay, now when that happens is obviously open to everyone's interpretation. The Bank of England is forecasting 2024 before we're out of recession. Other people are doing similar things. I can't see anyone saying that we're going to have some miraculous bounce back in 2023. Okay, this video is not the video I'm going into details of that, but. So if you now factor in, so take these two things. Let's just say house prices are not going to start rising again until 2024. Okay, that's 18 months away. Spring 2024 is the earliest that that'll start to happen, I think. So we've got 18 months of more house price falls. One could argue, I am arguing. And we're already seeing drops of the Halifax of 2.3% in 1 month. And that's the sharpest drop. Now, question one, do you think month on month house prices are going to start to drop more sharply once the effects of the mini budget and the interest rate hikes come in, or not? Again, mathematically, it's a very high probability that once the effects of the mini budget start to filter through to reported house prices, you're going to see even sharper falls. That is not an outrageous prediction in my book, okay? So we could see even bigger month-on-month falls than that. I think we'll probably see the sharpest month-on-month falls are going to be around about 5% in 1 month. I think that's entirely possible. If we're seeing 2.3% in a month reported in November for transactions agreed in June, July, I think once the mini budget effect actually filters through to house prices and the timeline catches up, 5% in a month is not going to be a big deal. I'm not saying that they're going to fall 5% every month for 18 months. No, I'm saying I think that's probably going to be the steepest drop in a month. It could even be more, I don't know. And then they'll start to, you've got the S shape, right? You've got the S shape of drops. And we're just starting to see that part. And it's going to get steeper for a while, and then it'll start to bottom out, okay? And that period from there to there is around about 18 months, okay? So you can start to make your own decisions based on how far you think prices are going to drop. I personally think that 20%, I think first of all, at the coalface, prices being agreed today are now more than 10% off the highs of prices that were being agreed at the start of 2022. I think that we've already seen 10% house price falls. They just won't be reported yet, okay? That's my opinion and my estimate based on the facts I have at my disposal today. Which is why, with steeper falls to come and then a more gentle bottoming out, another 20% or more is entirely possible, all right? Which is where my 35% forecast comes from, okay? So guys, I hope that's helpful. The purpose of this is not to say that it's good news or bad news. It affects everybody differently. But if you are making major financial decisions based on whether you're buying or whether you're selling or both, or upsizing, downsizing, this information affects you, okay? So it's here for you to make up your own mind. But my view is that we're just beginning to see, so we've seen the third consecutive month of house price falls. They're starting to get very sharp falls. They're going to get sharper when the effects of the mini budget actually come through to reported house prices that they have not had time to do yet. That's going to be February, March next year. And it's going to take 18 months before they hit the bottom. Right, so if you look at the regional, so look, I'm going to just share this with you, just very clumsily holding it up to the screen, okay? But if you look at the monthly changes in that column there, you'll see that 2.3% is the biggest monthly change, positive or negative, by far. The next biggest monthly change was 1.5% increase back in March, okay? So it's a very, very sharp change in month on month. And if you go and read it, they've got regional, they do talk about the regions and the fact that the Northeast is the only area in England where the annual growth still went up a tiny bit compared to last month, okay? But it's got the regional breakdown in there for you to go and have a look at. All helpful stuff. Just remember, try to find as much information as you can for yourself from as many different sources as you can. Try to use sources where they actually provide you with links to the data that they're using. Try to avoid people who just have strong opinions but nothing to back them up on, because I think those are misleading. Whether they're right or wrong, they're just not helpful. And take your time figuring out what to do. But as always, if you want to move, if you're buying now and you found a home that you love and you can afford it, buy now, just don't overpay. I hope that's helpful, guys. Thank you very much. Send me your questions on Twitter, moving_Charlie, or Moving Home with Charlie, anywhere and everywhere else. Put your questions below or send me private messages and I'll do what I can to help. Have a great rest of your day and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Always let my tea go cold.